Hey everybody, it's time for 10 of 10. Really interesting, talking to a friend. She asked me 10 questions, they gave her 10 replies. Hopefully you'll learn how Casey really thrives. The purpose of the session is to make Casey connections. 10 of 10, 10, 10.
Kristina, hey,
Hey.
welcome. Tell me who you are and tell me what you do.
So before the quarantine and hopefully after the quarantine, I am a lighting designer for the Kansas City Symphony. I am a journeyman member of Local 31, which means I do anything and everything in Kansas City that needs a box pusher, lighting designer, all around stagehand extraordinaire. And that's what I do for a living.
Awesome. Okay, question number 1. How did you first become involved in the arts?
So I started in middle school. I had a really cool theater teacher named Victor Doherty. And he kind of followed us into high school and then got us into community theater if we were like super interested. So I worked at the Barn Players from when I was like 15 or 16 up until I went to college at the University of Kansas. So started early.
Nice. KU.
Yeah.
I never knew you went to KU.
Yeah.
See, this is why we're doing this. Amazing. Okay, number 2. If you could work with any company that you haven't worked with in Kansas City, who would it be and why?
Ooh, I got a long list of have worked with in Kansas City, here and there. I mean, I love the Friends of Alvin Ailey, but I have worked with them, so that doesn't count. I don't know, maybe like musical theater heritage, some sort of like youth-inspired musical theater, something that maybe they do a little bit of beefy actual theater work, because I do a lot of like, it's the symphony, make it pretty, make it sparkle, have a good time, and I haven't done a lot of like anything with meat in a while. So, any kind of community theater that's willing to have a good time and do that. So.
Excellent. Okay, question number 3. Who inspires you?
Ooh, like somebody that I know personally?
It can be someone you know personally, or it can be like just somebody that you don't know. It's just your inspiration.
Well, currently, my like kind of mentor and cohort in the union is Rick Knapp, and he's got an awesome background in just being a board op all over the world for dance companies and Alvin Ailey and doing all sorts of things. And he kind of inspires me because he likes to push the boundaries. He likes to be a little crude when necessary, but he always gets the job done. And he's got such a big heart that he really inspires me to like keep going. And I got a couple of gigs coming up, which is crazy in the quarantine. But, he's really supportive, and he's like a really good push for anybody that's younger or wanting to learn in the union. And he really cares about the arts. So like, he's my number one like mentor and fan.
Awesome. I haven't seen Rick in a minute.
Yeah.
I'm going to call Rick. Tell him
you
to
should.
do it. All right, number 4. If you could work with any director in Kansas City, who would it be and why?
Ooh. Gosh, I don't know. I don't really know a lot of the directors anymore. I'd love to work with anybody in the opera world, like actually work with the director. I mean, as a stagehand, you don't really get to interact with those people very much, so I don't really know a lot of people anymore. Like, I know Nino. I had a really good time with Nino when I was like a kid. I'm sure he's like grown and become something much more phenomenal than I remember, because it's been 10 years or so. But he was a lot of fun. So maybe I'd like to work with Nino again to like see how that is. Or maybe Ron McGee. I haven't worked with him in a long time either, since 2011 or something. So it'd be nice to like meet some of those directors again and kind of like re-up the familiarity with them.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting, like when you're working at the symphony or something like that, like there's not really like the same relationship as a lighting designer with someone who's a director. It's just a different process. And I think that a lot of younger lighting designers or people who haven't worked with IATSE or haven't worked at Symphony, like they don't understand that it's a whole different world and a whole different style of lighting out there.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm on an island a lot, and you know, I just have to support whoever comes in with the touring act, or just make something that is impressive and interesting to look at to enhance the music. And it's less about the lighting being distracting and more about like supporting this group of 80 musicians on stage doing a thing. And the conductor maybe have some input, and I have a good relationship with the associate conductor, and I've met Michael Stern a couple of times, but we've like one project we really integrated with each other, and he had a lot to talk about, and we like really collaborated. And it was a 9/11 piece, and I mean, we don't interface all that much, but with that it was really cool to do like some collaboration, but it's not all the time. A lot of the time you're just trying to make it look good and support the art that is happening on stage.
Yeah.
It's different than theater, for sure.
It is different. I think that's like a perfect segue into this next question, which is like, how does your creative process typically work when you get assigned a show? Like how does your creative process work?
If it's a symphony show and I know there's like a designer or a production manager of some sort coming in that's like got a lighting emphasis or a lighting idea, I just work to support them in that endeavor. And sometimes I program the console so that they can run the show off of the handles and just push buttons and run the thing. But for like Christmas Festival, which is a really big deal every year because it's a lot of shows for the symphony. It's the most shows in a row we ever do of the one thing. And I actually get a book of music, and I actually pre-decide kind of how my cues are gonna do and gonna go, and I get to pick gobos, and I get to be much more integrated into the process. I get the music much more ahead of time. I actually get music to read, and usually I'm on the fly, kind of like, I know this is a cool 80s song, and I'm gonna start with this, and then I just add stuff as I go, and it's never all recorded. I just don't hit go all the time for those kinds of shows. But for the Christmas Festival, I can actually record it, and I call spots, and I like do stage managing and lighting design kind of at the same time. It's a very intense show, and it's a lot of fun because then there's actually some more input and more artistic choice rather than the like show up at 7 a.m., get the orchestra set up, do a rehearsal, kind of hear the music one time through, get a kind of roughed out cue list, and then just go for a show. And it's like, good luck, spots. There's some people going on stage. I'll tell you when. And so it's more of a collaboration with the spot ops in that point where it's like, do what you need to do, make it look good, and I'll just kind of like guide you from what I know. But they never rehearse like everything they're gonna do. Sometimes they don't rehearse in order, so you just kind of have a rough stomp it out cue list that you gotta do. So it varies from show to show all the time.
That's so fun though, because it's never like the same thing. Kind of just like theater, you know, it's not the same thing every time. Every show is going to be different. It's almost like working in a different medium almost.
Yeah, it's so much faster. You can't rest on your tech week. You don't got one. It's 2 hours. It's 2 hours long, and you got to go. Like, there's a show tonight. There's people coming. Make it interesting. Make them like it. Figure a way to push the buttons in a way that makes it look good, and that you are also like, you also love it. You know, you can't just kind of rest on your laurels and do one cue because you get bored.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, number 5, number 6, I forget what number we're on, but the questions are in a list, so I'm just gonna keep asking them. Who is your favorite lighting designer in town?
Trad.
Oh yeah, Trad.
Oh, he's so good. He's
good.
Just like, he's one of the few ones I've actually met and been able to talk to. He's I programmed for the opera a couple of times, like Stopgap, and I programmed for the ballet a couple of times, but he's just like a pleasure. Even if you're just a stagehand hanging the lights and doing the focus, like he shows up, he's there, he kind of like wants to know who you are, and he's really an interesting person, and he cares about like what you do other than when you're at the ballet. Like he follows me on Instagram and stuff, and we have some chats on the social. The soch. But he's really pleasant, and he makes beautiful work too. So like having been a board op for him, kind of taking in for Rick. He had to do like a kids graduation weekend, so I got to like open a show with Trad, like do the very end of it, and it was really cool because it was like, it was different. I don't get to program for somebody telling me. Usually it's not a designer saying like, this is what we're doing, these are the keystrokes, you know, what do you think? That's great, let's keep going. You know, it's really good to stretch that part of my brain, because a lot of the time I'm just kind of like shooting from the hip, gotta figure it out. Yeah, no, Trad's amazing.
Awesome. Okay, number 7-ish, we'll say 7-ish. How do you think that Kansas City can improve its art scene so that more people know about what's going on?
Ooh. It's kind of crazy because I'm in this bubble where I'm at the Kauffman Center a lot. And I do anything in Hellsberg Hall is kind of my wheelhouse. If they had a master electrician, that would be like my job title. They don't. That's not the way they run the center. So I'm there in Hellsberg a lot. So I don't get to see a lot of other people's shows. So only if I know somebody personally, they'll be like, oh, hey, I'm doing a show at the J, or I've choreographed this and I'd love for you to come see it. And it's like, I don't get enough time to go see those shows. And the crosstalk between the theater world and the production world doesn't really happen very much.
Yeah, it like doesn't make it there.
No.
Like we all know we're working, but it's like,
yeah,
why is that information not always connecting to each other?
Yeah, there's kind of a divide. And I think when I became a journeyman in the union, I kind of like went over a line, that an invisible line that's like, oh, you're a stagehand now, you must not like the arts. Like you're just in it for the money.
Yeah.
You know, like you're falling back on the easy gig, which it's not. It's
No.
a completely different world that people just don't get to see. And then we don't get to see the community theater that's happening, like the really top-notch stuff that's happening at the different theaters in the area. We don't see it all because we don't have time, frankly, to like step out of the bubble. It's like if I'm not at the Kauffman Center, I'm loading something in at the Sprint Center, T-Mobile Center.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't believe it's changing. It's
everything's changing, but we're gonna call it the Sprint Center until the end of time. You know, so we're like filling in all of these holes that when it's really busy, we don't quite have enough people for. But then when we're not busy, you know, it just, you're trying to fill it as much as you can. I don't know. I don't know how we get more.
It would be interesting. I feel like there has to be a way to just like but it's also, we're all working, right? So it's hard to go, like if I'm working 7 or 6 nights a week doing my show, how am I going to see your show when your show is 6 nights a week and we're running at the same time? So I feel like there's like that gap in connection because there's so much art in Kansas City.
There is,
like
very much, yeah.
You can't do it almost because you're either working it or you're somewhere else. But
yeah, it's so saturated that it's really easy to like make a divide.
Yeah, it would be interesting if someone comes up with a way to solve that problem.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe it'll just go unsolved. All right, number 7. Number 7. What feeling do you get when you see your work in front of an audience for the first time?
The funny thing is, like, I'm gonna quit this Christmas festival that just happened in December because I was kind of ill when I was like programming it and building it, and there's a point where I got like kind of better and I was feeling good, and then I would look up from my book, like I was turning the pages and hitting the button, like we're doing the thing, and I'd look up and be like, oh, whoa, is that what that looks like? And you just get so ingrained into the like, I have to call the things, got to do the stuff, got to turn the pages, following the music. This is really hard to follow. And then you look up and you're like, whoa, that's pretty cool. And you get this like sense of just awe. And this happened to me also at a gala. We had a symphony ball and it was in Union Station. And the symphony was playing in that great big hall that's very echoey, but we had like done a whole bunch of stuff. And I just looked up, and it was really simple. There was a couple of cues, it wasn't a lot. And I just kind of looked up, and everybody's watching the orchestra play, and the entire room was lit in like twinkle stars. And everybody was so focused on the art that was happening that I just stood there and I was like, this makes the last 36 hours worth it.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh.
they're here for the art, and they actually want to be here to listen to that music. And I was like, I have just enhanced this incredible space so that people can enjoy it and they're not distracted by the extra. You know, it's just there to enhance it. And you just kind of get a like tingly feeling. And you're like, this is why I do it.
Yeah. It's like, I totally agree with you. Like those days where you're like so tired and you literally hate everyone and you don't like, don't talk to me. This is like ridiculous. And then you get to a moment where you see it and you're like, oh yeah, like this is why all the work actually is meaningful, because I feel like what we do like is it's also very life-changing for people, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like getting those moments of like those tingly feels that you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Like that's the magic. That's why we do it.
Like, I often joke that I would go on Broadway and like be the curtain guy for no money, just to like see that experience. Like, I love making a living. Let's not get me wrong. The pay can be good if you're working a lot for the right people. And I think the pay should be good for everyone. Sidebar. Everybody should get an equal amount of pay for the work we do, because everybody's in the trenches together. Even if we're not together, we're doing the same thing, just for different venues. But like, I would go do Broadway because probably not gonna get there. I didn't quite make the right track, but just to be there in the room, where it happens. Like, it's good quote. It really works. Like, I would go like hand the guy a sword for no money just to be there, just to see how that world happens. And I mean, a lot of what we do is the same, but it's different. Just it tingle. It makes me feel good.
I love the tingle. I love it. It sounds creepy, but it's so good. Oh man. Okay, number 8, I think, maybe. No, this is 9. You're on number 9. Okay. What is your favorite lighting instrument to use?
Ooh. I mean, a good Source 4, ellipsoidal, Lico, like a good old workhorse. If you got to focus a bunch of lights for somebody, I mean, that is a beautiful moment. Like, send me to the catwalk, I'll focus all the lights. You know where everything is, you can reach all the stuff. It's very good. It's just so basic and beautiful in the way a Lico is. But when you can take a moving light, and there's some new stuff out there that Harvest has got that I got to play with a little bit, that happened to be at the Super Bowl, so I got to touch a light that was on stage at the Super Bowl.
Nice. Don't
but
ever wash your hands.
I know.
Actually, no, wash your hands all the time, because
I've washed my hands a lot since then. But to be able to like push a button and create an entirely different scene in an instant and not have to like run up to the catwalk to refocus the light is awesome. And the new moving lights have all sorts of different effects in them, and you can start to do things where it like waterfalls up and it's not just a circle going around. They've created these awesome like water effects or just cloud effects that you can make that just continuously move on an effects wheel.
Oh, cool.
Dude, just like playing around with a little bit of focus, throwing it in and out, doing just interesting texture is choice.
I feel like
So nice.
lighting designers could play in a dark room forever.
Oh yeah, just leave me in there with some music, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave me in Hellsberg in my house and I'll be fine. Just don't talk to me or bother me, and I'll put some lights on the floor and I'll just look at shiny things for hours. It's fine.
It's totally fine. All right, you ready for your last question? You made it. Okay. What is the best piece of advice that you've received, and what is the best piece of advice that you would give to somebody else?
I think the best piece of advice I could have received was early on in my union working days. And it was save 2 months of rent and bills. You're like, because you can get pretty far ahead. Like you can have a really busy month and make a lot of money. And the allure is to just kind of like spend it and buy some nice shit. So buy some nice things, and like really blow it. Don't save it. Have a little nest egg, so like when the summer comes through and dries out the work, or when the winter, like right over Christmas into New Year's, is always kind of empty for us, like make sure you have enough money to be comfortable through the dry time. And that, I mean, especially now, though nobody could have foreseen this much dry time,
right,
it at least got me into enough unemployment, which is the first time I ever filed for unemployment. But it got me far enough in that I didn't have to worry. Yeah. And I feel like that's a lot of the problem with gig work is like I'm always hyper aware that like the work's going to run out, or like every job is a job interview. So if you screw it up, you're done. So like make sure you've got enough money so that you can create the work you want to make and not think about the cash flow that's going to happen, because it makes me nervous and it makes me not as good at my work. So that was the best advice I got when I started really doing union work, after I worked for Harvest, to just have a little bit of a pillow. Just make sure you're going to make it through the 2 months or so. My advice, to people, I guess I would say, don't forget why you're here. I mean, you could go the union route, which frankly, when I was in college, they were like, don't do it. It's bad. You'll never get to do anything that you want to do. Don't start doing it just for the money, because you could push boxes for not, $24 an hour, but you're only pushing boxes for a couple days a week, maybe. Like, don't rush after the gigs that are going to pay you the most, because for me, that doesn't fulfill me. Like, I could do forklift gigs at the Sprint Center and make, when I'm older and I'm higher up on the list, and make a significant amount of money, but it's not what I want to do. I would rather make less and work more hours and do the work that makes me happy. Because A, we got to make a living, but B, why are you doing something that is so extravagantly strange to most of the world if you're not enjoying it at least a little bit?
That's so true. Yeah. If you don't like it anymore, then it's time to rethink it. And that's sometimes really hard, because admitting to ourselves that we're unhappy in our work, sometimes it's been our whole life. Like you said, you started when you were 15. So like now it's like hard to even think what else would we do if we would do something. But if you're unhappy, you're going to just be unfulfilled. So.
Right. Like, maybe you need to find a job right now because there is no live entertainment. But when it comes back, you have to decide if your quarantine job is fulfilling enough, or if you want to go back to the art and the collaboration and supporting the artists and really creating those experiences for people. It's a really hard balance, especially if you find a really good quarantine job where you're making more money and you've got better benefits. Like, maybe this is the time to start trying to figure out how to get that into more of the art scene in Kansas City. I work for the union, but like, I want everybody to make the money I'm making doing the same job that I do. Like, you shouldn't have to go in for under minimum wage or something that's not supporting you and work 3 jobs to do the work.
Or work for free.
You should be able to support yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, not be an extravagant wealthy person, but have enough money that you can like still
Pay your
travel
rent and feed yourself.
and
Yeah.
you know, like still do things that are outside the bubble of the theater.
Yeah. I agree. All right, Kristina, it is time. You've survived all 10 questions. And now the floor is yours. If you would like to plug anything, talk about anything, tell us anything, what do we need to know?
Oh boy. Well, equal pay for equal work is a lot of the reason I thought the union was even enticing. I mean, I go to work and I get paid, if I am doing a job, I get paid the same as everybody else that's doing that job. And that a lot of places in the world, if you're a woman, you get paid less. And that's not how it goes. And our fight, the fight in Missouri for 15 was really important for us. I mean, for people to make a living wage at what we do, because it's very specific, it's highly skilled, and we need to keep that in mind. Equal pay for equal work is where it's at.
I love that.
I mean, I'm a journeyman member of Local 31. When it's not the quarantine, I'm sure our benefits will come back in full force. We are now just trying to survive. And I think a lot of people are that way in the production world, especially. But we are continuing to fight for others. We are supporting the Black Lives Matters movement. We're supporting the young workers of IATSE. And we're supporting the gig industry, and we're trying to figure out ways to help ourselves and everyone else to try to get everybody in the same boat together. And that's really important.
Yeah, I love that. Kristina, thank you so much. I appreciate you. It was so fun to talk to you.
You're welcome. It was a really great time.
I'm glad that you survived the 10 questions. See ya.